I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to Welcome back everyone, and of course FSR is officially back for a new season of racing, and what a way to start it off. Last season it was a crazy affair, seeing David Kolochai take the title over Matthew Clip. A season filled with potential. We saw 7 different race winners and a whopping 16 drivers take to the podium over a 10-round season. So where are we headed for today's action? That is of course towards the north of Italy and to one of the most iconic and historic locations in all of motorsport, Imola. A circuit which has seen many changes in its time as a racetrack since it was opened back in 1953. The basic shape has remained the same, keeping that truly historic character. Last changed in 2009 when it became the 4.9-kilometer circuit we know and love today. Of course, I have to say a massive thank you to the sponsors that are bringing you Formula SimRacing's Academy Series, brought to you of course by SimLab, Masita eSports and 3D Wrap. The opener to today's coverage, including the Pro Series and of course the return of the World Championship live on the race. It's round 1 at Imola. I'm Zach Sweeney and I've got Felix van Delft alongside me. How are you, Felix?
I'm doing great, thank you, Zach. I'm looking very much forward to these races today. Of course, starting off with the Academy Championship. We've already had a race earlier today, actually, that just finished. That was the Amateur Series. Unfortunately, we weren't really able to broadcast that, but the Academy Series is, I'm sure, going to deliver quite well on the action. Of course, here at the new Imola 2018 version, it's going to be a great track. Of course, in qualifying, this track can be quite tricky. The curbs are quite high. It's easy to just go a little bit over the limit and just end up in the gravel or in the grass somewhere. And it's of course a very high-speed track in some parts. In the race though, we're going to have to see what the drivers will be able to do, because the straights aren't too long. Overtaking will not be too easy, I think. But let's have a look at the schedule of the entire season that is coming up this year, Zach.
So we start off in San Marino, the Imola circuit, and we travel across the world to finish in the Brazilian Grand Prix. But in between that's a 12-round season and it's slightly longer than last season, so hopefully we're in for a treat, spanning over the course of around 6 months or so. And hopefully it's going to be a tight championship towards the end, and we're going to be in for a treat. Of course, we've got a very good circuit in store for us tonight, today, sorry, I should say. But yeah, hopefully the Academy guys can give us a good run for our money and start the day off well. Of course, we've got the Pro and World Championships off, so let's get it off to a good start, Felix.
Indeed, and let's jump straight into the qualifying session. The drivers have already started doing some laps, and let's see how they have been doing so far.
So of course, with qualifying, as you may know, it's about 10 minutes. The drivers are going to be looking at to get her in about 3 or so timed laps. They have to do a maximum of 9 laps, otherwise rFactor 2 disqualifies them. But as it stands, Harry Smith on pole position, only 0.5 of a second quicker than Rikus in second place in the Go Speed Racing team. So it's looking very, very close, especially at the front. And then of course, we only have about 2.5 tenths back to the 3rd and 4th drivers, and of course they get to start they get to qualify on whatever tyre they want, if I'm correct, Felix. So
yep.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's going to be on the soft tyres, so it's literally balls to the wall, guns are blazing, get as fast of a lap in as you can and get yourself up the grid.
Indeed, and Pedro Gomez is doing a good job so far. The first and second sector looked pretty good. Purple in the second sector, actually. Let's see what he can do in that final sector, if he can get himself up to from where he is now, and he can indeed. Provisional pole position there for Pedro Gomez with a 1:16.619. Great lap by him, and let's see if anybody can beat that today.
Yeah, definitely a great lap time. Only about 3/100ths of a second quicker than Harry Smith, so it is still very much all to play for. We're on board with Pignataro, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in the Go Speed Racing team, and they are looking pretty quick especially with Rikus in P3, and it is looking very close. He's just on his outlap, I believe, warming those tyres up, weaving like a snake to warm up those soft compound tyres. They should be pretty easy to warm up, but as is the case with the new 2022 Formula 1 style regulation car, it might be a bit difficult, but here he is negotiating. What is a very historic lap. It's very difficult to hook up a lap, I'm sure, because you look left, you've got grass, you look right, you've got grass, and you've got some very difficult sausage curbs. So hopefully he can improve on the time he's currently set. It's probably a 1:17.3 if I'm correct. He's still got 5 minutes left to go in qualifying, so just have to see how it pans out for him. But yeah, it looks like Harry Smith is on a good lap if I'm correct. That's purple to the first sector. So he is going quicker. He's looking to claim that provisional pole position on his second flying lap. And let's hope he can do that. So yeah, Harry Smith, purple to the first sector. Let's see what he can do through the chicane. Uphill, very, very much an undulating circuit. Let's see what he does into the second sector. So only a green sector if I'm correct. 25.1. Really got to use those curbs on the inside to maximize the track you're using. And through down into the last sector. Let's see what he can do. Downhill braking, we want to be looking for around about that 100 board on the inside. Use as much of the circuit as you can for this double left-hander. Really got to chuck it in and be committed. And it's the run to the line. Let's see if he can take provisional pole position across the line to round off sector 3. Is it going to be provisional pole across the line? And is it?
It is.
It is. Very much is. Wow, that was a great lap. A 1.7 tenths quicker than Gomez. So that was a great lap. To set it, and Rikus does go into second, 1/100th of a second off, and Gomez down to third.
Indeed, very close between these top 3 drivers. Harry Smith only 18 thousandths of a second in front of Montes Rekkes at the moment, and Pedro Gomez coming just through the second sector now. Didn't improve on his personal best lap time in that second sector, did improve in his first sector though. And now let's see what he's able to do in that final sector. Coming down the hill here. Braking is quite difficult to get right because it's so much downhill. You brake quite a bit earlier than you would normally do. But now coming out of the final corner alongside the main straight. Coming across the line, what is it going to be for Pedro Gomez? Not an improvement of position, slightly improved on his lap time, but he's going to have to try again. But I think, if I'm not correct, this was his this was his third attempt. Yes, so I believe that he is out of attempts, and he will not be getting any further up this grid, if I'm not mistaken.
Not too sure if you are or not, but P3 is still a great result if he can hang on to it. We've obviously got the likes of, is that Yannickoni? I'm not too sure with everyone's pronunciation. You have to forgive me. It's my first race, guys, at home, but hopefully it can still go smoothly. But he is in 4th and he's close, so hopefully on his final couple of attempts, he can set a good lap time for him. But for Gomez's sake, P3 is the start of the second row. If he can get a good start, that's definitely going to put him in a good position for the race. Of course, we have got a lot of strategy and play as well, probably going for a double soft stint to a hard stint. It might be able to be mixed up, but Harry Smith starting his final lap. Then let's see what he can do into turn 2 and 3, which then proceeds into 4. If I'm not mistaken, it might have changed. The track map I've got is turn 1, but into 5 and 6, really got to chuck it in and brake as you chuck it in, and he is looking very quick through that chicane into turn 7. Bit of a shake under brakes, very easy to lock those rears of an unstable 2020 car. He has improved to the first sector, or hasn't. It's a 19.0, but through into this double left-hander, really got to chuck it in, use the lock of the car, use the undulation of the circuit to help bite that car in, and Harry Smith is on a pretty hooked up lap. It's looking pretty good. Big slide through there though. That's definitely not going to be helping it. Another big snap, and I'm sure that's going to be his lap ruined. But hopefully he's still going to go for it, and yeah, he's escaping back. So that was his lap ruin. That's his final attempt. So hopefully for Harry Smith's sake, that is good enough. But, you know, Rikus is very, very close behind.
Indeed. Pedro Gomez also not far behind, of course. Let's see what Pedro Gomez can do in this final attempt of his. Coming into the hairpin here, and it is a good first sector for him. 19.1 personal best. And I think also very close to the best time that Harry Smith did. Now coming Down the hill, double right here, incredibly fast, and then braking and steering at the same time up the hill once again. Very difficult corner to get right in these cars. And the chicane, of course, you have to, like you said, Zach, chuck it in. Have to take those curbs. Gomez tried to avoid them, maybe intentionally, but maybe also just had a bit of understeer coming into that corner. Now, again, the final 2 corners. You don't have the best second sector, wide sector, which means not a personal improvement. Green means he did a personal improvement, and purple is best of the session. Now coming across the line for Pedro Gomez, it is going to be a 116.6 and a no improvement from him. Harry Smith and Montes Rekkes also done with their qualifying session. There's still a few drivers out on track, including Jake Denahan. Just coming through the second sector now. Let's see if he can do anything. Quite a few drivers in front of him also on the lap time. All on their final laps. Oh, and a mistake there from Denahan, and he escapes, and his qualifying session is also over. I think I saw somebody jump up there on the timing sheets. Don't know exactly who that was, but Lukczak is on a personal improvement as well, I think, so he might be moving up a few positions, coming into the top 10 here, perhaps. Indeed, P6 for Lukczak. Great lap time for him as well to start his first race here in the 2021 Academy season. And somebody's coming into the pit lane here. Rizzo ending his qualifying session there. And that finishes up the qualifying session here, Zach.
Indeed it does. It was a very good qualifying session. As you can see, very close to the front. Only 18 thousandths of a second covering the top 2. And if you can see, it's a bit further back to Gomez. But from that, it was extremely, extremely close. But I'll talk you through the grid order now. So Harry Smith taking a pole position to start the first round of the Academy Championship. Only 18 thousandths clear of Mantis Ricketts. Pedro Gomez in P3. And Thomas Andriami Ariosa in P4, Yannick in P5, Lukczak in 6th, and Palisech in P7, Denahan rounding off in P8, Tommy in P9, and Laurent rounding off the top 10. So it is very close in qualifying, 5 tenths covering the top 10. So it is still very much all to play for. 38 laps of Imola left to go. And it is what it's made for in the race. That's where the points are scored, and that is where the good are separated from the great, being consistent, especially around a tough Imola circuit, Felix.
Yeah, exactly. And taking us through that Imola circuit will be Michi Hoyer. He'll be taking us through a nice lap of this Imola circuit and telling us all the little quirks that you have to know about this track.
Welcome everyone, this is Formula Sim Racing. My name is Michi Hoyer and I welcome you to the FSR 2021 season, which is about to kick off here at Imola, so I also welcome you to the track presentation. As we're coming out of the final turn, we push the car hard towards the start-finish line. The FSR 2021 car, chassis-wise, an F122 regulation. And with refueling, with tyre changes, it's going to be an interesting season. Best overtaking spot here. Turn 1, heavy on the brakes. Make sure you hit turn 1 perfectly, because you need the sweet and perfect exit through to turn 2 and 3. Into 4, take that curb. So for 5, you're perfectly on the entry. Short sprint up to turn 6. Very late apex here. And then all the power down. Traction is important here. On the sprint up towards turn 7, up the hill, into the quick left-hander. Don't go too wide on the exit, don't want to go too hard over the rattle curb. Into Aqua Minerali, easy on the brakes as the car likes to snap, then don't take the rattle curb too much again. Coming up into Variante della Roccia, take the curb sweet and don't go too wide, because there's another rattle curb that likely unsettles the car. Into the second best overtaking spot we come for Rivazza 1 and 2. Heavy on the brakes, make sure you hit that curb and then get a perfect exit out of final turn at Rivazza to take all the speed onto the start finish straight. As I said, turn 1's going to be the best overtaking spot. Anyway, we're looking forward to a great season. That is one lap here around the Imola circuit. And strategy, refueling, different tire compounds, and different car philosophies. Going to be all with us during the season.
And welcome back, everyone. We're here again for the FSR 2021 Academy Championship. We've just been through quali and we're in the short warm-up session just before the race. And what a great qualifying session it was again. I'm Zach Sweeney, joined again alongside Felix van Delft. And, well, we're in store for a pretty good race. It looks like the pace is very close. Again, just want to say a massive thank you to all the sponsors putting on what is a great show. Of course, we have Mesita eSports, 3D Wrap, and SimLab providing some great prizes for the winners of each academy. So we've got a quick warm-up session, Felix, and we'll be going in to what is hopefully going to be a pretty banger of a race.
Yeah, exactly. Strategy is going to be interesting. The race is in total 38 laps. The amount of liters that go into these new 2022 Formula Sim Racing cars, or 2021 Formula Sim Racing cars, I should be saying. The fuel tank is quite short. Refueling is enabled, which will be interesting in the longer races later today in Pro and World Championship as well, of course. But there's a 48-liter fuel tank, which means that there's going to be at least one pit stop here in Academy. I think they can do about 17 laps in one tank. So I am expecting them to do 1 or 2 stops here. And then, of course, they'll also be doing their tire swaps. It's a free choice of tire, so they can choose hard or soft. And we'll have to see what is happening. I think the hard tire is going to be chosen quite a bit here at the start of this race, because the drivers do have to choose at least a set of hards and a set of softs during the race. They have to at least use both of them once in the entirety of the race. So that is going to be interesting to have a look at. But I think we're ready to jump onto the grid and have a look who is going to be starting for pole position here today.
Indeed, it's going to be a pretty interesting race on strategy, but Harry Smith takes pole ahead of Mantis Rikas, joining him alongside on the front row. Pedro Gomez and Thomas Angiamiarosa make up the second row.
Yeah,
in P5 is Armando Yanacone alongside Grzesiek Lusak, Peter Palisek and Jake Danahan round off 7th and 8th. Tommy and Sergio Obra-Laurent round off the top 10, with Riboli and Zaharov in 11th and 12th. Christian Macareno and Danov Brentholm in P13 and 14. P15 goes to Adam Rainey and P16 to Frank Hamming. Gerhard Batalla and Indrek Remitz in 17th and 18th, with Roberto Pinataro and Maxus in P19 and 20. Kevin Morville and Patrick Rusinak in 21 and 22, with the 23-24 going to Andrei Marichach and George Zalgianis. Cosmo Pashutu and Jurgen Van Bergen in 25th and 26th. 27th and 8th goes to Gianluca Del Biando and Marco Rizzo. Rounding off the grid are the 29 and 30, Ampetisis and David O'Reilly. I've butchered these pronunciations, but rounding off the grid is David O'Reilly. And hopefully we've got 30 cars on the grid. It's going to be a tight run into turn 1, Felix. So could be a bit of carnage. Hopefully they funnel their way through pretty cleanly.
Yeah, let's hope they will. The guys are just lining up to their grid slots right now. That is going to be indeed very interesting. As I can see now from here, there's a few drivers that are on the hard tire. Most notably, I think that is P6 or P5 that has the hard tires. And also a few drivers behind that. And also P2 has hard tires on his car. You can see the white-walled hard tire on his car. Mantas Rekas going for a different strategy compared to Harry Smith. And that's going to be interesting. Also, look at the way he's angled on the grid there. Trying to go into attack straight away.
Yeah, definitely angled very aggressively to dart to the inside of Harry Smith. Of course, he's going to be on a slower start because of the hard compound tyre. That's not going to grip up very well off the start. And he's surrounded by Gomez and Andriama, both on the soft tyres. But we do go to the lights and we're getting ready to go underway for a new season of FSR. And we're underway and racing for the new season. And it's a great start for the pole sit. There's a big crash towards the mid-pack of the... Oh, whoa. That is a massive crash towards the back. And that's a massive pile-up. But Harry Smith does get away well. They're all funneling their way through turn 1. That's a lot of damage on the cars. And there is Gomez off on the gravel trap. And he's lost his front wing. There, everyone just trying to funnel their way through to the inside. Can he get it into the chicane? Just going to think better of it on this occasion. But Rikus managing to hold on to P2. And Harry Smith with a very dominant start, making sure he gets these places early. There's Danahan looking to the inside of Palisech. Can he get it done? No, just going to think better of it. But it looks like there's been a massive pile-up. There's a spinner through turn 7. That's definitely not going to be too good. The Royal Blue Racing car coming into contact there, and that is definitely not going to be the ideal start. Everyone just trying to funnel their way through. Again, a lot of damage on a lot of these cars, and that is not the way you want to be starting a 38-lap race. Here is Rusinak trying to get his way through, and yeah, you can just see the sheer understeer of these cars, Felix. That the damage is just horrible, and they're really falling back. There's Zalagayanis going to the inside of the chicane.
He's missing his front wing as well.
Very nicely done. Yeah, he's missing his front wing. This is just not the ideal start for any of these guys. Big slide for O'Reilly through there. Just not the ideal start, is it, Felix?
Yeah, you have to take note. David O'Reilly started from the very last position. P29 on the grid is right now in P13. So that just goes to show what happened there on the first lap. Not exactly sure what happened. I think somebody didn't get off the line and then just got rear-ended by the guy behind him. And that just caused an entire chain reaction of people lining up behind each other and hitting each other, which is a bit unfortunate, of course. But we haven't heard from Race Direction that it's going to be a restart because of a mass DNF. There is some rules that might allow for that, but I think there's more than enough people still driving for that rule to not come into effect. And of course, Harry Smith with a great start, already almost 2.5 seconds in the lead right now.
Yeah, definitely the ideal start, using those soft compound tyres early to get ahead of Rikus, who's under pressure from Palisech. I believe, yeah, only 6 is the gap, so he's closing down on those red mark soft tyres. And could be interesting to see if he can make the move done. Of course, on those soft tyres, he's going to want to get these moves done early and look to get ahead and make the most of these soft tyres, Felix.
Indeed, that's what you want to do. Because later on in the race, you will of course be going onto the hard tires, and Mantas Rekkes, in that case, will be on the soft tires. So you want to get past him as quickly as possible now, because every second he's in front of you with hard tires, he's going to be gaining compared to you, basically. So let's see if Petr Palacek is going to be able to line himself up to go for a move here. It is not an easy track to overtake here. Imola, of course, rather narrow track, rather short straights. The back straight is going to be the main place to do it. No DRS on these cars this year. No engine mixers or engine boost modes that the drivers can use. It's just pure driving. You have to get a good exit out of the last corner and try to force a mistake perhaps into the driver in front of you. And then try and get the move done.
Definitely so. It's posing to be a challenge, as is Imola. But they're making the most of it so far. Of course, Dirty Air could play a massive factor. The 2022 regulation cars hopefully going to mitigate that, but you can still definitely feel it into the chicane. You can see Palisek trying to get as close as he can, but mounting those curbs gives him the rough exit compared to Rikus, who's just managing to hold on and use those hard tyres early. Still up there despite the pace deficit, and he will be looking good when he pits on for the soft tyres. So definitely a good start for Rikus, and Palisek needing to get through now and make the most of these soft tyres. And importantly, he doesn't want to battle too much either, because Harry Smith will just pull away while they're all sort of just battling with each other, but he can't quite get close enough. 0.6 has been sort of the ideal gap between the two, second and third. This is still for some very good points playing positions, and he needs to get through now for the longevity of the race. We've got Marakak on the back in the midfield for about 18th place, Felix. So this is looking like a really close midfield, but not so much at the front.
Yeah, this is just battling for the last couple of positions that are still driving. Jurgen van Bergen alongside with Hamming now. Hamming got through quite easily there on the main straight. Got past before turn 1 and is now going to be focusing his sights on Maracek in front of him, who's on the hard tires. So he should be, it should be easy work for him to get past him. But Jurgen van Berg, spins around in the background as well. I think his car might have some damage. We saw him spin in the first lap as well, I believe. So that is going to be a very difficult first race of the season for Jurgen van Berg. And Petr Palacek, in the meantime, got closer a little bit. Gap is around 5/10 now, but at this point it doesn't really matter. You want to be close coming out of the final corner so you can use that slipstream and make a move coming into turn 1, as we just saw being done by the HM Engineering driver a lap ago. But I think Palacek again is a bit too far back. 7/10 coming across start-finish. It's just too far to do anything coming into turn 1.
Of course, he needs to get this done now because those soft tyres are going to degrade a lot quicker than the white-walled hards, and it could be a lot difficult. Up the inside goes Marikak. Really bold move to make up the inside of the double left-hander, but he's going to get done around the outside by Rizzo. Still side by side. This is only for P18 on the run down the pitch straight. Still going to be side by side. These guys are duking it out very nicely. Both on the hard tyre, both equal pegging, and they're fighting it as if it's the last lap for the race lead, but definitely putting on a good show. To the outside of turn 1, can Rizzo hold it? Gonna look nicely. He's gonna have the inside again, still side by side. Great racing on show between these two, but it looks like Marikak gonna make the most of it and get through on this particular occasion. But yeah, Palacek in a very sticky situation now, as his soft tyres are going to be wearing a lot quicker than Rikus, and they're going to hit that point where the hard tyres slowly start to begin to get quicker than the softs, Felix.
Yeah, exactly. That crossover point is, well, it obviously depends a little bit on how hard the driver wears the soft tires and wears the hard tires, of course. But that crossover point is going to be coming sooner rather than later, as we are entering about the 6th lap of this race. As we are focusing right now on the midfield, roughly P14. Pasciuto of Royal Blue Racing trying to get around Kevin Morville around the outside here, coming into the final 2 corners. No, door is slammed shut by Morville there. Now Pasciuto needs to line himself up out of this final corner, get the slipstream, as there's somebody off into the grass and somebody off into the pit lane there. This is going to be an easy overtake for both of these drivers, of course. Now Pasciuto to the outside of turn 1, late braking. Now door firmly shut there by Morville, but great defense by him.
Definitely making that car as wide as it can, only for P11. And really defended him nicely. He's on the hard tyres, and he doesn't want to be behind Pasciuto when the crossover point happens. It looks like he's just conserving his tyres, and he's on the back of Pignataro, so he doesn't want to be swarmed by the likes of O'Reilly and Pasciuto behind. He wants to be the one leading that offence into the top 10. He wants to be the main man putting the pressure on and get himself in front. 8/10 is the gap between the two, so this is it for P10. The battle between them, 4 cars in a nice little train going on here. Pasciuto very nicely done through the double right hand. A bit of a scrum on the exit though, but yeah, just needing to put the pressure on, stay close, as you said, Felix, on the run down into turn 1. That's the main place to get it done, and that's where we've seen a lot of the action take place. And it looks like the SOS are now starting to degrade that little bit more. You can see Palacek falling off the back of Marcus Rikus up for P2.
Indeed, he's starting to fall back. His tires perhaps starting to wear more than those hard tires from Montes Rekkes. I think I saw Roberto Pignataro just come into the pit lane. Yes, indeed. I think there might be some drivers that chose to do a relatively short first fuel stint. Because as I said, by the way, they're going side by side through turn 1 here. Ooh, great bit of racing between these two drivers. Kevin Morville wasn't able to keep his car as wide this time through turn 1. And that allowed Marikak, Pasciuto to get past. But now he makes a mistake coming into turn 6, turn 5, and loses both positions to Kevin Morville and David O'Reilly. And he has to start all over again after that great move coming into turn 1.
All that hard work undone from him, that 3 laps in the making move, and it's just come all undone. That one snap through that chicane, and he just lost all of it and couldn't hold on. But he's got 2 cars to negotiate through. Once again, Pignataro out of the way and onto the soft tyres after his pit stop. So it's 1 less car out of the way. We've also got Frank Hamming on the back of these guys closing in. To the inside goes Pasciuto, has a little look, but very bold move if he'd got that stopped. And O'Reilly hanging on very nicely. They're both still on the back of Morville, who's hanging on nicely on those hard tyres, just trying to keep them alive, keep the longevity of them, and extend them well into the race. But Palacek has closed up a lot on Rikus on this previous lap, Felix, so maybe he's just saving up a bit of pace to go for a late stint charge on the man in P2.
Yeah, indeed, it could be the case. Let's have a look though. I think Palacek is gaining quite a bit again. Perhaps also a mistake from Rekus. But the battle for P10 is getting hotter and hotter. And I think we also have a little bit of a battle going on for P6 between Dmitry Zarov and Jake Denahan. Zarov very close behind him, coming through that first sector. Runs a bit wide there on those curves. Those curves on the right-hand side of that corner are quite difficult to navigate on. It's quite a high curb, and those rumble strips unsettle the car quite a lot. So drivers have to be careful to not touch those too much during the race.
No, definitely not. But you can see Zarhob is very close. Just needs a good run through the last couple of corners, through the penultimate corners, to find his way and slingshot his way in slipstream. Of course, as you said earlier, Felix, no boost, no DRS, no nothing. It's purely down on that pocket of air that Denahan, as he peels into the pits actually. So Zarhov very nicely through into P5, so doesn't have to wear out his tyres too much to get through and cleanly up into some nice clear air. So maybe we can see some good pace on board for the battle for P10 though. This is Pashitu trying to still on the back of Mr. O'Reilly. Who's going to come into the pits? No one into the pits on this lap. So they are very much stretching these soft tyres thin and going to be setting up some nice moves towards the end of the race. Here goes Pashuto to the outside. We've seen him do it before. Can he get it done on O'Reilly on this occasion? And cleanly done ahead before the apex. And it doesn't look like O'Reilly was wanting to fight Felix.
Yeah, I think O'Reilly knows that this guy is quicker. He saw this move happen right in front of his nose just a few laps ago. So I think he just accepted that it was going to happen and not risk it too much. Of course, there's still 30 laps to go in this race, so he wants to get to the end, I'm sure. I think strategy-wise, what is happening, a lot of these drivers that are on the hard compound tires are choosing, or started on the hard compound tires, are choosing to take as short as possible a stint on those hard tires because they are just, in general, a bit slower than the softs. So they do a very short hard tire stint, and then they will do 2 soft stints after this, trying to use as much of the pace that is available with the soft tires. I think that is kind of what is happening. At least that's the only explanation that I can come up with right now. But Pashuto is now putting full pressure on Kevin Morville again. He got past him a few laps ago, and he's going to have to try again now. I think he's just a little bit too far back to do anything into turn 1. But perhaps he's going to prove me wrong here. Coming across start finish. Yeah, he's just a little bit too far back. But if he can stay this close coming into the next lap, he will be in a prime position to make that move again. David O'Reilly also got overtaken by Frank Hemming, the HM Engineering driver here.
Yeah, indeed. So they're still going at it. None of them wanting to blink and make a mistake at all. So they are really putting the pressure on each other, making sure everyone makes the most out of those tyres and fighting very hard. You can see Pashuto very much on the back of Morville and wanting to stay as close as that down the back straight. He needs to stay that close down the back straight with the lack of aid with overtaking. He needs to make the most and get those opportunities done and try not to make a mistake this time. It definitely would help. You can see how close he is. Pulling out the slipstream maybe to preserve some heat in the tyres, use that clean air, taking a much tighter line through the chicane, mounting those curbs, bit of a scrub on the exit, just needs to set up these last 2 corners very, very well, and he should have a look for P8 into turn 1, hopefully in a very nice manner around the outside like we've seen him do. He's becoming pretty renowned for that, but through the final corner then, just needs to set up a good exit. That's exactly what he's done. He's very much closer on this occasion. 3/10 is the gap. He's closing and closing and closing in the slipstream. Yeah, there goes Morville to the inside. He's also very much under pressure. To the outside, pulls to the outside, does Pashuto, so he is going to have to replicate the move. He made a few laps to go to the outside. Very much bit of contact between the two. Rubbing is racing to the inside for turn 2 once again, and Morville going to hang him to dry around the outside. Very nice racing between the two for P8. Can he look to the inside, potentially of turn 4? Nope, just going to have to set up a nice cutback. Very, very close on the braking, and Frank Hamming on the back after that battle, Felix.
Yeah, he's looking to take any advantage of any mistakes that these drivers might happen during this battle. And you can see there having a look almost on the inside here of Pashuto as he had a bit of a scroll coming out of the hairpin. I think he's just a little bit too far back now, but Pashuto not able to make the same move on Kevin Morville as he did a couple of laps ago after he made that mistake. Perhaps also due to the fact that those soft tires are starting to wear out now. 12 laps into the race, those hard tires are going to start really favoring on pace.
definitely so. We're definitely into that crossover point, as you alluded to earlier. Prosciutto still putting the pressure on, very close, bit of a lockup, and might see a couple of flat starts. Hopefully doesn't, of course, with when you lock up, the rotation of the tyre stops, so it is just grazing along the surface of the track, which degrades an uneven proportion of rubber, so that's definitely not going to be good. He's a lot closer. Morville again to the inside, Prosciutto to the outside once again. Deja vu, can he get it done on this occasion? Breaks as late as he dares around the outside, clipping the apex on the inside, and it looks like Morville gave that one up before it got too feisty, and he could be under pressure from Frank Hamming once again through turn 4 and 5, very much closing up under braking as Hamming, and really wants to get this done riding over the curb though, and that's definitely not going to be doing his floor too well. Hopefully no damage done, but yeah, just completely pushed on because of that. Hasn't lost too much time, thankfully, and Palasek still putting the pressure on Rika, so those soft tyres still working for him, and a lot of these guys on the soft tyres are very much taking them very long, and I predicted only around 10 laps, and they're taking these a lot longer than we expected, Felix.
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned at the start, the fuel tank goes about 17 laps, but it's, of course, it's not exactly... it's not exactly 34 laps, so there's going to be a short stint somewhere, either at the start or in between two stints or at the end, and I think some of those drivers actually chose to split that short stint across a little bit, so stop a bit earlier, stop a bit later in another stint. So we're going to have to see how that all unfolds in the end. Somebody coming out of the pit lane as Frank Hamming is going for a move. Ooh, that is very close to being a massive accident there. I'm not sure if that is a back marker or a... oh, that's Palasek actually. It's Palasek. Palasek just came out of the pit lane after, I guess, making his first regular pit stop in lap 13. That would make sense. But he joins right in the midst of this P8, P9 battle. And that's going to hurt his defense against Harry Smith, I think. Because if Harry Smith just waits to stop now, then he will just gain a bit of time. Because Palasek is a bit stuck in the traffic here, even though he's on fresh tyres.
Exactly that. We also noticed Rika's pit as well, and you can see he's come out about 5 seconds in front of Palasek, who's been really caught up amongst this midfield battle, so has to negotiate this quickly on his hard tyres. So potentially Rika's taking on a little less fuel to save a bit of time in the pit lane and come out ahead of Palasek, and he's gained a lot of time, but Palasek really did not optimise that pit stop at all, and Rika's has come out in clean air. So and Harry Smith, as you said, could just stay out that little bit longer. Into the pits does come Frank Hamming, I believe, so that's going to make Palasek's job a little bit easier. Oh no, is that Yellowtail into the pits? No, it's Hamming into the pits. I am mistaken.
Yeah, they're multiple.
Yeah, but Palasek, 8 tenths is the gap between him and Morville. He needs to close up, use those fresh hard tyres quickly, get them rubbed in, get them warmed up, and get himself into the clean air to chase after the likes of Rikas once again. And Harry Smith still consistent class of the field up, hasn't made a mistake, hasn't really given us much to talk about him, because he's just been so quiet at the front and just driving his own way in the lead of the race, just negotiating the pressure very nicely, and Palasek very much closing onto the back of Morville. 4 tenths is the gap between them. 2 tenths now. He's closing and closing, but with Imola you need to be substantially quicker to make a move in this infield section, which maybe he might be. He's set up a good run, so maybe into the chicane he can have a bit of a send to the inside. Let's see if he can, or is he just going to play the patient game? He's going to play the patient game and wait for the run into turn 1. Very sensible option for Palasek to do there. But Morville hanging on brilliantly on these hard tyres. He's had a lot of pressure thrown at him, and he hasn't blinked. He hasn't made one mistake so far. So very consistent driving from the man in P6. Bit of a lock-up through into the penultimate corner though. Palasek all over the back of him. Can he get the run into turn 1? He's a little bit further back than we've seen moves done, but he's definitely going to have to close and speed down onto the run into turn 1. Can he get it done? He needs to get it done now if he wants any hope of salvaging
coming into that second chicane here in the first sector. Let's see what Palasek is able to do. You can see he's got the pace, but he doesn't really have the how to say it. He doesn't really have the motivation or the spirit to go for those moves. Perhaps pushing a bit in the wrong places. He really needs to focus on getting a good exit out of that final 2 corners. It doesn't really matter what happens here in the second sector or in the first sector, because you can't really overtake there anyway. You really have to focus on getting that final corner, or perhaps here a little bit of a touch there, as Kevin Morville had a bit of a mistake coming out of the chicane. That's going to allow Palacek coming perhaps into the inside here of the penultimate corner. Yes, he's going to go for it. A big dive. It's going to go wide a little bit. And that allows Kevin Morville to do the cutback. And now a few drivers behind him are also coming to challenge them. Tommy Italo and Kevin Morville already side by side coming across start-finish. Coming into turn 1 now. Indeed, move done by Tommy Italo and Peter Palacek. Again, not able to get past a driver in front of him. David O'Reilly on soft tires. Has not stopped yet. So Palacek should be able to get past O'Reilly pretty easily on old soft tires. Those tires will be worn out almost to the fullest, because it's 16 laps into that race now. Getting closer and closer to that halfway point of this race. Already a very exciting race. And I think this just proves to show that these cars do allow for a great bit of racing here, especially in this category. I think Pedro Gomez just came into the pit lane. Oh, I'm sorry, Harry Smith just came into the pit lane. Leader of the race into the pits onto the soft tires. That is interesting. He did his first stint on the soft tires and now his second stint also on the soft tires. So he's probably planning to do a rather short stint at the end of the race to go to the hard tires as shortly as possible. Right now he came out in fresh air as well. That's very important for him. Oh, Italo on the grass there coming into turn 1. Together with Kevin Morville and Peter Palacek. This battle has been going on for a while. Alright. Slight bit of technical issues there, but I think we should be good now. Not quite sure. A lot of drivers now coming into the pit lane at the end of lap 17. Doing their first regular stops. Apologies there for the technical issues. Slight bit of issues with the stream for some reason, but we should be back now. Roberto Pignataro and Gerard Battala quite close to each other here for P8 and P9.
Yeah, indeed. Just a couple of technical difficulties. Looks like they're all resolved though very promptly, so you didn't miss out too much. But Pignataro very much on the back of Battala for P8, and he's on the soft tyres. They're both on the soft tyres, so equal pegging in this stage of the race, really pushing Battala through that chicane there, all over the back of him, and needing to get this move done. Maybe into the penultimate corner if he can set it up. To the inside goes Battala to defend. There's Pignataro looking to the outside, just going to back out. That one snaps the rear though. Big mistake for Pignataro. That's not what he wants through the penultimate corner. He's still close enough to get the slipstream, and into the pit lane does come someone, I believe, but yeah, Pignataro, not the mistake he wanted to make. And Harry Smith, as I did miss, did come out in clean there. He's on the soft, so probably going very quick at the fuel to then have the gap on the hard tyres to manage to hold on Felix.
Yeah, Harry Smith is in a very good position once again. And I think unless he makes a massive mistake here today, he'll be winning this race. Let's
hopefully not jinx it, because yeah, he's driving so well, so consistent and the last thing he would have wanted is to make a big mistake. But as long as he keeps it normal and keeps what he's been doing for the last 19 or so laps, he should be good. We're around about the halfway point of the race now, so into the second half, the final sprint to the end of the race of the first round of the Academy Championship. But Palasek back into P3. Rikas has retaken the race lead. I'm not sure if he's pitted yet, Felix, if you can confirm. But yeah,
everybody has. Everybody's
pitted. So Rikas has taken the net race lead. So good stuff from him to keep it clean. But Harry Smith has the pace to try and chase him down, and Palasek really did lose out. You can see 12 seconds off Harry Smith because of that battle and getting caught up with P8.
Yeah, indeed. Petr Palasek now battling with Tommy Italo there, coming into turn 1. Almost a big accident, but I think he came out unscathed. Tommy Italo not so much. He's also already getting overtaken by Ampatsidis. Our apologies, by the way, if we mispronounce any of these names. There's quite a few difficult ones that's uncommon for us, but hopefully throughout the season it gets a bit better. Please do let us know if we mispronounce anything, and let us know how to actually pronounce it, so we can improve ourselves for the next races.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge for both of us, both new to the academy, but hopefully we don't butcher them too much and we're doing a good enough job. Pignataro still putting the pressure on Batala and trying to set up a good move. He's sixth. The good run through the final couple of corners to set up down that back straight. It doesn't want to lock the rears like he did that previously, Felix.
Yeah, I think he's perhaps moved his brake bias a little bit, and in the pit stop he can change a few things as well with the wings. So perhaps he tried to improve his car that way, but now he's surely close enough to make the move coming into turn 1. Around the outside, indeed. Great move by Roberto Pignataro there. Moving himself up to P7. Getter Batala losing a position there. Battle for P5 now also. Petr Palasek right in front of Dmitry Zarov. Dmitry Zarov on soft tires. Relatively fresh soft tires, I should say. Those soft tires are 3 laps old right now. And Palasek has 8 lap old hards. Surely Zarov is going to be able to get past Palasek pretty easily here if he gets a good run out of these final few corners, as we are well past halfway this race now. 18 laps to go. 17 as Montes Rekkers just crossed the finish line. It's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen now, because I'm pretty sure Montes Rekkers took a relatively short amount of fuel in his first stop, and is going to take a longer amount of fuel now in his upcoming stop to go to the end of the race. And it's the other way around for Harry Smith. I think Harry Smith is still in a very good position here, considering Montes Rekkers pitted in the 12th lap and Harry Smith pitted in the 16th lap. So that fuel difference is going to be interesting as we come to the final stages of this race.
Yeah, Marcus Rikas has created a good opportunity for himself if he can hang on. But Harry Smith, as you did say, 4 laps longer on that first stint, and is going to be in a lot better of a strategical position. Of course, anything can happen, as is the case with motorsport, but Harry Smith is probably the favourite to win, slowly chipping away at Rikas' lead. But here we have Zarov on the back of Palasek, who has been struggling recently after the first stint. Couldn't get past Rikas in the first stint, got swamped after his pit stop, and now he's under pressure from Zaharov in the NRWO eSports car. He's chasing him down. He's been on the back of him for the last couple of laps or so into the penultimate couple of corners. Needs a good exit, needs to get past on those soft tyres, make the most of him. Remember, we have to remember that Palasek is on the hard tyres. Zarov a bit compromised through the final corner. Definitely not going to help his speed down this back pit straight. He's in the slipstream. Is he close enough? Palasek moving to the inside, maybe to just cover it off a little bit. Doesn't look at all close enough. So Zaharov just going to have to cover it off and stay with him for another lap or so and launch the attack in a couple of laps' time. But just negotiating these first couple of corners pretty well. Trying to stay on the back of him, needs to just keep it back And as is the case, he's managed to follow him very, very nicely. Just doesn't want those tyres overheating. Doesn't want to be pushing too hard and allow Palasek to pull away just a little bit more, Felix.
Yeah, indeed. As I think there's a back marker there, letting some people past. Just making sure he gets out of the way nicely for everybody. But Zyrov, he's basically in the same situation that Palasek was a bit earlier. The longer he stays behind this driver in front of him with the hard tires, the more time he loses. Of course, Palasek was battling for the top 3, top 4 already earlier in the race, so he is probably a bit quicker than Zyrov. Zyrov is on a slightly different strategy, but still, he is also on very fresh tires, relatively, compared to Palasek. And the longer he waits, the less fresh those tires will become, and the better the hard tires will become.
Indeed, so very well put there, and rightly so. Zyrov in a similar position that Palasek was in earlier in the race, just needs to put the pressure on, maybe show his nose to the inside, maybe get Palasek offline just that little bit extra, put him off, show his nose, do anything. The mental game does play a massive factor, just needs to use the advantage he has on those soft tyres now so he doesn't get swamped. You can see Pignataro really committed through this chicane and really closing onto the back of him. So Zyrov wants to be the lead man launching that attack onto the podium, and Pignataro definitely probably should just work with Zyrov. Maybe when Zyrov sends a move on Palasek, he can follow him through, make the most of any sort of mistakes that occur between the two. But Pignataro in a very good position. He's shown some pretty good pace at this stage in the race.
Definitely is. Also a little bit further back, we've got Massimiliano Riboli and Garabatala pretty close to each other, both on the soft tires. Actually, everybody is on the soft tire except for Petr Palasek at this point in the race. And I'm pretty sure that's going to change in the final stint. Perhaps maybe be the exact opposite, where everybody is going to be on a hard tire, or almost everybody is going to be on a harder tire, and Palasek is going to have to be on a soft tire. I'm not exactly sure if that's going to happen, but we'll see when they do their final pit stop. There's 14 laps to go in this race, and we'll see what is going to happen. I think there's a few drivers coming into the pit lane, and that is indeed the case. Quite a few drivers coming into the pit lane actually. Palasek, Pignataro, Rusinak, Riboli, all into the pit lane. And then let's see who will get out in front here. Of course, I'm pretty sure all of these drivers are filling their tanks up just enough to go to the end of the race, which should be about 14 laps.
Indeed, and they're probably going to go for the hard tyre stint, depending on what tyre they start the race on. Of course, this middle stint was on the softs, so it looks as though is that Riboli onto the red mark soft tyres, so to the end on a very quick strategy. So it could be looking pretty good. He's shown some pretty good pace so far in the race, and just needs to cool down his engine a little bit, it seems, the man in front of him. But yeah, onto the softs to the end, so should be looking pretty good. He's still all over the back of the man in front of him, 7/10 is gap, so hopefully we can see a move come pretty soon. Hopefully he can stay on the back of him and have a good little look down into T1.
Indeed. Also battle for P9, Vasilis. Very close to Kevin Morville actually. Vasilis on a set of soft tires. His soft tires are currently 2 laps old. Morville's are 7 laps old. That's quite a big difference in grip levels that those tires will have. And Ampetidis will be trying to get a move done into turn 1, I think. Morville is also right in front of a... is that a back marker? No, sorry, that's David O'Reilly.
Indeed, so is he... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
But O'Reilly under pressure, and Morville, we've seen he has got the tyre deficit to the man behind him. Looking to the inside, he's definitely got a lot of pressure on him, but Morville has shown he is looking pretty good and can withstand the pressure from people behind him despite being on the slower tyre. He proved that in the first stint, and he's still putting the pressure on O'Reilly in front. And is that Palasek just come into the pits and joined the back of this battlefield?
Yeah, indeed. He will be on the freshest tires of all of these drivers in front of him. He should have the pace, but we've seen this before in this race. Palasek not really able to get moves done. And he just gets stuck behind the drivers. He really needs to try and get a move done as soon as possible on all of these drivers in front of him. He has the grip advantage. He just needs to make the use of that actual grip advantage that he has. as we see Ampatidis having a little bit of a peek to the inside of Kevin Morville there, coming into the chicane, but not actually going for a move yet.
No, not just yet, but still definitely putting the pressure on to the inside. Has a little look into the penultimate corner, has to ride that curb, but Morville hanging on brilliantly. And Palasek, as you did highlight just a minute ago, can't get those moves done. He's got the grip advantage, he's proved in clean air, he has the pace. Just needs to utilise that to full effect and get his way through. Maybe be a bit more confident under brakes, anything to get his way through. He needs to get his way through if he wants any chance of reclaiming the podium. There's Morville looking on the inside over the grass on the back of O'Reilly, and that's going to put him under pressure to the outside. Does he go? Wow, great move from him there, and that's Palasek going to follow him through. So Morville, one mistake into turn one is going to cost him 2 places, and Palasek, oh no, that's him off. He's off into the gravel trap and into the wall, backwards into the wall. Luckily hasn't tapped it, and there's Palasek to the inside of Morville. Bit of contact between the two. He's spun him round, and they're T-bone, and he's round. He's stopped on track to the grass. Has to go Riboli to avoid them both, but manages to negotiate it well. But big couple of incidents there, Felix.
Yeah, very, very messy first sector there of just that lap. Interesting to see that for some reason everything went down in two corners basically. Let's see if we can get a replay of what actually happened right there.
So let's just take a second look at what happened. So you can see we've got Ampaditis looking all over the back. He's the one that first made the mistakes, locked the rears going into turn 4 and backwards into the wall, which definitely didn't help his cause at all. And then I think we saw Palasek look to the inside of a hairpin and just made that little bit of contact with the man in front of him. We're on board with him now, you can see. Manages to make the move, make the cutback on Morville to the inside. Very nicely done, but then Morville sends it around the outside. There's him. He has to react very quickly to launch the brakes on, and that gives Morville the run on the outside, but Palasek says no. He pulls to the inside, bit of a closing gap, makes contact with the rear left and spins him around, has to stop on track, and everyone having to avoid him. So yeah, massive bit of calamity there, and definitely not ideal for Palasek.
It's indeed definitely not ideal. Interesting turn of events indeed. Very strange to see what happened to Ampatidis. I guess he just locked his rear tires, but it's quite a strange place to do so. Yes, you brake there, but it's not like you're braking into a chicane full on. So perhaps maybe a hardware issue for him, but we'll have to wait and see after the race what he will say about that. Harry Smith is still about 8-9 seconds behind Mantas Rekus, who is leading this race, as we've got 10 laps to go. I think both of these drivers will be pitting in the next few laps to go to their final pit stop and do the final few laps of the race. Let's see who's going to come out on top. Harry Smith, I thought, was in a good position, but the further this goes on, I think Mantas Rekus might also be in a very, very strong position here.
Yeah, indeed. Like, Rekus, if I'm correct, it was only 18 thousandths off Smith in qualifying, so it's not as if Smith was 5 tenths pole or anything. Rekus has been there showing his pace and definitely coming true in the second third of this race for sure, and definitely showing his pace, and he's stretching his legs. Maybe the strategical mastermind of the field, Harry Smith, needing to push, needing to make the most of this race, and still has to pit for the hard compound tyres, which Rekus took in the first stint. So Rekus in a very good position for the last couple of laps of this race, Felix.
That is a very good point indeed. Rekus did indeed start on those hard tires, so you will have a final stint on the soft tires, where Harry Smith will have to do that final stint on a set of hard tires. So indeed, Mantas Rekus showing to be very strong on strategy here, and of course he was also very close to that pole position in qualifying.
Indeed. So Rekus showing his pace now in the second third of the race, and Harry Smith definitely a bit of a strike to the confidence. He's been leading this race for most of it, but Rekus in this last couple of laps, 9 laps of the race left to go. Of course, we've got to complete lap 30 and then the last lap of 38. So 9 laps of the race to go, and this is definitely a battle of attrition. Who blinked first? Who was most intelligent with the strategy? Who called it right? And as it stands, it is looking like Rekus has made the right decision. Of course, having started on the hard, now coming into the pit lane, so presumably for some soft tyres. So Harry Smith will take the net race lead, but does have to pit again for the hard tyres. So this is a crucial time in the race for the leads too. This is where they want to be pushing, where they want to be making the most of the strategy. So Rekus into the pits and fueling up once again to the end of the race. Very short pit stop as well. So he's going to be on a light car with very quick tyres. So he's going to be looking very quick in this last stage of the race, Felix.
He is indeed coming out in free clean air as well. So he'll be able to push those tyres to the absolute limit. Well, you have to make sure you don't spin right out of the pit lane with the cold tyres at least.
Bit over the limit there.
But this is going to be a very interesting final stint indeed. And let's see what Harry Smith is going to be doing in this next few laps. I'm not sure if he will be pitting already now or if he's going to leave it until the last 2-3 laps and do basically splash and dash. Let's see what he's going to be doing. Gaps have stretched out a bit further throughout the midfield as well. Palacek is still not too far back, Pignataro, but we've seen again and again that Palacek really doesn't really have the confidence to go for overtakes, at least not yet here in this first race of the Academy Series of Formula Sim Racing 2021. No pit stop yet for Harry Smith on this lap, so that is going to be interesting to see when he actually does. 7 laps to go now though.
Indeed, Harry Smith maybe wanted to stretch the pace of these soft tyres out so he's a lighter, and on the hard tyres, of course, with a lighter car you're going to be more nimble, you're going to be a little bit quicker on the straight, so maybe that could help him with defending from Rekus if he does get ahead of him, or maybe just to catch him up. But he's going to be on the hard tyres, he's going to be on the back foot, and as you alluded to, Palacek made a bit of a mistake. He was quite close to Pignataro. He's now under pressure from the man who led the chain of events that caused him to spin in the first place. He's now on the back of him. Can he get the move to the inside of the penultimate corner? Gonna think better of it as it stands. But yeah, Palacek just not had the best races. He made some great moves at the start, but maybe a couple of knocks to his confidence can definitely go a long way when you want to be making moves. You then start questioning your ability to make the moves. You start thinking, should I go for it? You start hesitating. And that is definitely an important thing to note, because Palacek was making those moves early in the race. Just as it progressed, didn't make the most of them. Now, not making the most opportunities. He was fighting up there for P3. Finds himself P10 after an unlucky chain of incidents that saw him spin round. Was it Morville? Indeed, it was Morville through the hairpin. But yeah, just not the best race for Palacek. The pace has been there, but just a little bit unfortunate with how everything panned out. We've also got Pignataro on the back of Laurent. So it's showing his pace and looking to get himself up the grid a little bit more. But the midfield has been very tight for the last 33 laps, Felix.
It has been indeed. And that's great to see, of course. Harry Smith, I think, still staying out. So, as David O'Reilly made a bit of a mistake there. Roberto Pignataro trying to take advantage of the bunching up that happened then for Laurent. Very close to the rear of Laurent. A bit of a snap coming out of the final corner. David O'Reilly pulls into the pit lane for his final stop. Pignataro will be getting the slipstream. Coming into turn 1 around the outside. We've seen this done countless of times now already. But not everybody was able to pull it off. And contact coming into turn 1. Just a bit too tight for these two drivers. And both of them spin around and lose a few positions. That's not great to see between those two. And I think Harry Smith indeed still did not stop for a second time.
Very close between Pignataro. But luckily, managing for him, he did a full pirouette and managed to get going without leaving the track too much. So all he'll be dealing with is a slightly worn soft tyres and a bit of heat to deal with. But that's helped Palacek and the man behind him chase down, who's really been pushing him. And Pignataro now on the back foot needs to chase through. And we'll just cut to a replay of what happened. So you can see Pignataro pull into the outside with immense overspeed, braking very late. And the man on the inside very late on the brakes, very committed up the inside, clipped the side pod there. But you can see Pignataro manages to pirouette that very nicely and recover pretty quickly. So luckily for him, he didn't end up in the gravel like the man he was fighting with. But yeah, back to the action now. But that was a very close incident. And we've seen a lot of racing incidents happen this race. But overall, it's been some very clean racing up and down the field, Felix.
It has been. Of course, we had that incident at the start. Still not sure exactly what happened. We'll, of course, have a look at that after the race. The post-race checks will be done by the stewards. Trying to find out what happened, if there was anybody at fault, if there should be any penalties post-race for that. Harry Smith, though, surely he's coming into the pit lane this lap. Yes, he is. 5 laps to go, 4 laps basically, as he's finishing this lap right now. And where is Montas Rekkes? He is currently coming out of the final corner. Surely he's going to take the lead. Harry Smith will have a relatively short stop. Up onto the jacks now. Yeah, and Rekkes flies past right now into the lead of the race. And I don't think Harry Smith will be able, even Dmitry Zaharov is into second place right now, but I'm not sure if Zaharov did only 1 pit stop so far. Same goes for Gerard Batala. He's of course a bit further back. Zaharov only did 1 stop so far. Surely he's going to have to do another one. Or he saved just enough fuel to be actually able to make it on only 1 stop to the end of the race.
Yeah, we've seen Zaharov have sort of more of a consistent pace, so he's not been pushing per se at any stage. So maybe, as you say, he could have just been saving. I'm pretty sure he started on a hard tyre, so he has completed the mandatory tyre rule, so doesn't have to pit again, and maybe could just stretch it out. A pit stop now, we're seeing him plummet down the order. He's in P2, might just be worth the risk. He's got nothing to lose now. He might as well just go for it. And Rekkes coming out cleanly into the lead, and Harry Smith being a bit more of a strategical blunder. It looks like those soft stints at the start did not help him at all, and he finds himself down into P3 despite his dominant pace.
Indeed. Zaharov is indeed coming into the pit lane now, so he'll be dropping down to P4, P5, something around there, maybe a bit further back. But interesting to see that different strategy from Zaharov. Montas Rekkes is in prime position to win this race. 3 laps to go, including this one. And Harry Smith is almost 10 seconds behind him on hard tires. No way he's going to catch him on raw pace.
Definitely going to have to take a massive mistake from Rekkes, or maybe a massive cliff of those tyres. We've seen the soft tyres have degraded rather nicely on a nice gentle slope down, and not too bad. We've got a 4-car train going on here for P8, but yeah, Rekkes just needs to control the pace, keep himself clean. But Riboli on the back of Batala to the outside of T1. We've seen a lot of calamity to the inside. Can Batala get it stuck? No, so Riboli cleanly around the outside to take the apex, and it doesn't look like Batala is going to fight that one too hard. Still putting the pressure on and pushing him through the next sequence of corners. Needs to get all over the back if he wants to launch a counter attack. He's still close, as is the nature. You can follow a lot easier through the hairpin, running a nice tight line to that inside apex. But yeah, it looks as though he's managed to get that done pretty nicely, and we're now on board with the man behind Palisek, who's been behind him for quite a while. Actually, it's been sort of an idle battle, and Palisek managing to hold his nerve pretty nicely. 11 seconds off Zaharov, who has come out in P4, so still a great position to come out in despite his starting position, and well, where we thought he'd come out. So P4 still a great result, and Yelitau in P3 as well. So we've seen a massive shake-up purely on strategy, Felix.
Yeah, indeed. Really great strategy by Montas Rekkes. He is basically entering final 1.5 laps. And he's looking to win this race. Dmitry Zaharov is in the pit lane again. That is interesting. Perhaps he had a stop and go penalty, sped in the pit lane or something. That would be a shame for him. Gerard Batala side by side with Pasciuto there. Oh yeah, it's Patrick Ruzinak. Ruzinak was able to get past Gerard Batala. Ooh, and a slow car. No, that's a back marker. My bad. That is Donohan, I think, letting everybody past nicely. This is a great battle for the last couple of positions in the top 10, with basically 1 lap to go.
Yeah, Rekkes onto the final lap now. The leader, 11 seconds clear, so looking dominant to take the first win of the 2021 season. But the 2 Royal Blue Racing cars all over the back of is that Rashanak. Really under pressure on this last couple of laps. Of course, they've got the rest of this lap and then the rest of next lap to continue fighting out. But on board with Rekkes, flew into the hairpin for the final time. He's been the class of the field, really played that strategy to full effect. And, well, just being consistent, hasn't made any mistakes. That hard tyre stint held off Palisek for so long and held his nerve for so long, and definitely a good way to start off the season for the man in the Go Speed Racing team car. And that is going to be to the delight of his team manager, I'm sure. Just has a few more corners left to negotiate, and he will be crowned the first winner of the 2021 season. We've also got still the battle going on further back, so maybe we could cut to that and have a quick look once rFactor has cut to the across the line. But here he is. Here is Rashanek onto the final lap, and it looks like he's still under pressure from the two royal blue cars, but rFactor's rounding at the final corner now for the first race of the season at Imola. Through strategical mastermind, through consistent driving, through holding his nerve, he crosses the line, weaves his way across the line to take the first win of the season ahead of pole sitter Harry Smith, who still managed to hold on through thick and thin to take P2 as well. And Yellowtail finding himself in a very good position in P3 as well. But Pignataro is still on the back of these two. This is the fight for P4, still very much on. If one makes a mistake through the final couple of corners, through the chicane for the final time, everyone so close, need a good way. And there's Harry Smith across the line in P2 as well. Great race from the pole sitter, couldn't quite convert to the victory, and Yellowtail rounding off the podium. But the final couple of corners still all to play for P4, and needs to get a good exit if he wants any hope, and it looks like a done deal for. Despite not having the best of races, still comes home P4, negotiated his way through the traffic to come P4, and P5 and 6, Pignataro in P6, of course. Riboli will come across P7, Rushnick in P8, and Batala very close in the midfield. They all crossed within a few tenths of each other. So a very good race for the debut season. Of course, my first race for FSR. So definitely we're treated to a good one there.
Most definitely. Oh, spitting out of the final corner of the final lap. That's not what you want to do, Luke Chuck. Try to give it everything as he was battling with Frank Hemming, still there for P16, but now crossing the line without a front wing. He'll be disappointed, but I know for certain one driver will not be disappointed, and that is going to be Mantas Rekkers here today. Great drive and great strategic drive from Mantas Rekkers here today.
Definitely, with Imola's difficulty to overtake, the lack of overtaking you can do, it's very difficult. The only sort of place we saw it was the likes of turn 1 to the first sector, really the only place you could overtake. So he definitely took the trophy, very deservedly so. But yeah, just the strategical mastermind needed to get the undercut, the overcut, put his car in the right place at the right time, and use the raw pace he showed in qualifying to soar his way to victory, and very deservedly so, I'd say, driver of the day. But Rekkers taking the win ahead of Harry,
which is going to be a great race as well. But of course, we're not done for today yet. Coming up in 30 minutes ish, we've got the pro race coming up. After that, at 7:45, you've got the World Championship, the main event of the day upcoming. Make sure to tune in for that, as well as I'm pretty sure it's going to be an amazing race again. We've got teams like BS Plus Williams, of course the guys from Burst, Jurne Simoncic, champion of the last 2 years. He's going to be trying to defend his title once again, but Mohamed Patel, Petr Brojak, both also world champions, will be trying to take it away from him this year, and let's see how that will turn out in this first race. Zach, thank you very much for being here today with us, and any last words?
Well, yeah, as I say, it's been a pleasure. Do make sure to go watch the Pro Championship and the World Championship live on the race, and it definitely was a great opener to a series of events. Again, lastly, just a massive thank you to the sponsors of the FSR Academy race, Masita eSports, SimLab, and 3D Labs. But until next time, I've been Zach, and I've been alongside Felix, and we'll catch you next time.